Chapter 1. The Child Prodigy. Once upon a time, in a small beautiful town named Salzburg in Austria, a little boy named Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born. His birthday was on January 27 in the year 1756. Mozart's father was Leopold Mozart, a very talented man who loved music and was a composer himself. His mother was named Anna Maria. Mozart also had an older sister, Maria Anna, whom they lovingly called Nano. Mozart's family was not rich, but they had a happy home full of music. His father Leopold worked for the Prince Archbishop of Salzburg, and he was also a teacher. He taught Nano how to play the harpsichord, which is like a piano. Mozart, who was much younger, watched them. Even though he was just a little boy, he loved the music they made. When Mozart was 3 years old, something very special happened. One day, he walked up to the harpsichord and started to play. It was amazing. Even though he was so young, he was able to play melodies. His father Leopold was surprised and happy. He realized that his son had a very special gift for music. Leopold started to teach Mozart how to play the harpsichord. Even though Mozart was still a little boy, he learned very quickly. He loved music more than anything else. He would listen to a song and then play it perfectly. When Mozart was only 5 years old, he started writing his own music. These first pieces of music were simple, but they were very beautiful. His father would write down the notes for him, and people were amazed that such a young boy could create music. So, Mozart's early life was very interesting. He was just a little boy, but he had a big talent for music. His family was not rich, but they were happy and loved music. His father and sister taught him how to play the harpsichord, and he started writing his own music when he was only 5 years old. This is how Mozart started his journey as a child prodigy. Mozart's first compositions were like little seeds that would grow into a big, beautiful tree of music. He was very young when he started to write music, only 5 years old. But even then, he had a special talent that made people stop and listen. Mozart's father, Leopold, was a very good teacher. He knew how to show Mozart the way to make beautiful music. He also helped Mozart by writing down the notes of the music that Mozart composed. Remember, Mozart was just a child and could not write very well yet, but he could play the harpsichord and make up songs in his head. The first pieces of music that Mozart wrote were very simple. They were short minutes, a kind of dance music. These minutes were just for the harpsichord. Later, Mozart would write music for many different kinds of instruments, but at first it was just the harpsichord, the instrument he knew and loved the most. People were very surprised when they heard Mozart's music. How could a little boy write such beautiful music? They would ask. Mozart's music was like a bright, clear stream of water, full of joy and beauty. It made people feel happy to listen to it. But Mozart was not just a composer. He was also a performer. He loved to play the harpsichord and later the piano for people. When he was 6 years old, he and his sister Nannerl started to give concerts. They played in many cities and in front of many important people, including kings and queens. Everyone was amazed at the talent of the young Mozart. So, the first compositions of Mozart were like the first steps of a long journey. They were simple and small, but they were also full of promise. They showed the world that this little boy from Salzburg had a special gift for music. Mozart's journey as a composer had begun, and it was going to be a wonderful journey full of music and joy. When Mozart was 6 years old, a big adventure began for him and his family. They started to travel across Europe, giving concerts in many different cities. Mozart, his sister Nano, and their parents left their home in Salzburg and started their journey. Their first stop was in Munich, a big city in Germany. The family was invited to perform at the court of the Elector of Bavaria. Mozart and Nannerl played the harpsichord together, and everyone was amazed at their talent. The music that came from their fingers was so beautiful that the people who listened to it were filled with joy. After Munich, they went to Vienna, the capital of Austria. In Vienna, Mozart and Nannerl performed for the Empress of Austria. The Empress was very impressed with Mozart's music. She liked it so much that she invited the family to stay in Vienna for several months. But the journey did not end in Vienna. The family travelled to many more places. They went to Frankfurt, Brussels, Paris, London, and even Zurich. In each city they gave concerts, and everywhere they went, people loved their music. During these travels, Mozart learned a lot. He heard many different kinds of music and met many famous musicians. He saw beautiful palaces and met kings and queens. All these experiences helped Mozart to grow as a musician. But travelling was also hard. The family often got sick, and they sometimes had trouble finding a place to stay. And even though many people loved their music, they did not always make a lot of money. Despite these challenges, the tours across Europe were a very important part of Mozart's early life. They helped him to become a better musician, and they showed the world his extraordinary talent. Even as a young boy, Mozart was already making his mark on the world of music. The adventure of these tours was just the beginning of Mozart's remarkable journey. Chapter 2. Life in Salzburg. After their long journey across Europe, Mozart and his family returned to their home in Salzburg. Mozart was now a teenager, and he had grown a lot since they had left. He had seen so many things and met so many people. But Salzburg was still his home, and he was happy to be back. In Salzburg, Mozart's father, Leopold, worked for the Prince Archbishop. The Prince Archbishop was a very important person. He was like the king of the city. When Mozart and his family came back, the Prince Archbishop gave Mozart a job. He became the court musician. It was a big honor for such a young man. As a court musician, Mozart had many tasks. He played the violin in the court orchestra. He also wrote music for the orchestra to play. Sometimes he even directed the orchestra. This means that he stood in front of the musicians and showed them how to play the music. During this time, Mozart wrote a lot of music. He wrote symphonies, which are big pieces of music for orchestra. He also wrote sonatas for the piano and concertos for different instruments. His music was very beautiful, and people loved to listen to it. But life in Salzburg was not always easy for Mozart. He wanted to write his own music, but the Prince Archbishop often told him what kind of music to write. Mozart did not like this. He wanted to be free to create his own music. Despite these challenges, Mozart worked hard and made the best of his situation. He continued to learn and grow as a musician. His experiences in Salzburg would shape him as an artist and prepare him for the next chapter in his life. Mozart's life in Salzburg was like a roller coaster ride, full of ups and downs. There were times when he was very happy and successful, but there were also times when he faced many challenges. One of the biggest challenges was his job at the Prince Archbishop's court. Mozart loved to create music, but he did not like to be told what to do. The Prince Archbishop often told Mozart what kind of music to write. This made Mozart feel frustrated. He wanted to use his creativity and imagination to make his own kind of music. Mozart also felt that he was not being paid enough for his work. He worked very hard, but he did not earn a lot of money. This made life difficult for him and his family. Sometimes they did not have enough money for food or clothes. But even though Mozart faced these struggles, he also had many successes. He wrote many beautiful pieces of music. He composed symphonies, sonatas, and concertos. People loved his music and admired his talent. He became famous not just in Salzburg, but in many other places as well. One of Mozart's biggest successes was his opera, The Abduction from the Seraglio. An opera is a kind of music that tells a story. The characters in the opera sing instead of speak. Mozart's opera was very popular. People loved the beautiful music and the exciting story. So, even though Mozart faced many challenges in Salzburg, he also had many victories. He learned how to deal with difficulties and how to make the most of his opportunities. These experiences helped him to grow not just as a musician, but also as a person. They prepared him for the next steps in his journey, which would take him far beyond Salzburg. After some years in Salzburg, Mozart started to feel restless. He was not happy with his job at the Prince Archbishop's court. He wanted to write his own music, but he often had to write what the Prince Archbishop wanted. He also felt that he was not paid enough for his hard work. Mozart dreamed of a better life. He wanted to live in a big city where he could write the music he loved. He also wanted to earn more money for himself and his family. After much thought, Mozart decided to leave Salzburg. It was a big decision, but Mozart felt that it was the right thing to do. Saying goodbye to Salzburg was not easy. It was the place where he was born and where he grew up. It was where he learned to love music. But Mozart was ready for a new adventure. He packed his bags and said goodbye to his home. The first place Mozart went to was Mannheim. He hoped to find a good job there, but things did not go as planned. He stayed in Mannheim for a while, but he could not find a job that he liked. Next, he tried his luck in Paris. Paris was a big and exciting city, but it was also a difficult place for a young musician like Mozart. He tried to find work, but it was not easy. He had to sell some of his belongings to get by. Despite these struggles, Mozart did not give up. He continued to write beautiful music. He believed that he would find a place where he could be happy and successful. This hope kept him going, even when times were tough. In the end, Mozart decided to move to Vienna, the music capital of Europe. He did not know what the future would hold for him there, but he was ready to take the chance. He was ready for the next chapter in his life. And so, Mozart left Salzburg behind and set out on a new journey. Chapter 3. Vienna, the music capital. With a heart full of hope and a mind full of melodies, Mozart arrived in Vienna. It was a big city, full of tall buildings, crowded streets and beautiful parks. There was music everywhere, in the concert halls, on the streets, even in the homes of the people. Vienna was the city of music, and Mozart was ready to make his mark. Mozart's first days in Vienna were not easy. He did not have a job, and he did not have a lot of money. He had to find a place to live, which was not easy in such a big city. But Mozart did not let these challenges stop him. He was determined to make his dream come true. Soon after his arrival, Mozart started to give concerts. He played his music for the people of Vienna. He also taught music lessons to make some money. People started to notice his talent. They loved his music and they wanted to hear more. Mozart also started to meet other musicians and composers. Vienna was home to many talented artists, and Mozart learned a lot from them. He heard new kinds of music and discovered new ways to create beautiful melodies. These experiences inspired him to write even more music. One of the biggest opportunities for Mozart in Vienna was to write operas. The people of Vienna loved opera. It was a popular form of entertainment, and Mozart was a great fan of it too. He started to write operas for the Viennese theatres, and this became one of his most successful endeavours. So, Mozart's first days in Vienna were filled with challenges and opportunities. He had to find his way in a new city, but he also had the chance to create and share his music with a new audience. He was in the music capital of Europe, and he was ready to show the world what he could do. In Vienna, Mozart's star started to shine brighter than ever. He was like a beautiful bird spreading its wings, ready to soar into the sky. His music touched the hearts of the people and brought in the fame he deserved. One of the things that made Mozart famous in Vienna was his piano concerts. He was a fantastic piano player, and people loved to watch him perform. His fingers danced on the keys, creating music that was full of joy and emotion. When Mozart played, it was as if the piano was speaking a beautiful language that everyone could understand. Mozart also wrote many wonderful pieces of music in Vienna. He composed symphonies, sonatas, concertos, and a lot of chamber music. But it was his operas that made him especially famous. Mozart's operas were like wonderful stories told through music. They were full of exciting characters, beautiful melodies, and deep emotions. One of his most popular operas was The Marriage of Figaro. It was a funny story about love and misunderstanding. The music was so beautiful, and the story was so exciting, that people fell in love with it. It was performed many times in Vienna and in other cities as well. Another famous opera by Mozart was Don Giovanni. It was a darker story, about a man who did not respect others. But the music was still beautiful, full of passion and drama. This opera also became very popular and was performed many times. So, Mozart's time in Vienna was a period of great success. His concerts were full of people, his music was loved by many, and his operas were a big hit. Mozart had become a true star. He was not just a talented musician, but also a beloved artist. His dream of success had come true, and he was enjoying every moment of it. Amid the sounds of music and the whirl of life in Vienna, Mozart found his heart's melody in a woman named Constanze Weber. She was the sister of a friend and a fellow lover of music. Mozart fell in love with her kind heart and lively spirit. After a while, they decided to get married. Their wedding was a beautiful day. It was a day of joy and music, just like Mozart's life. They promised to love each other and to support each other in good times and in bad times. It was the beginning of a new chapter in Mozart's life, a chapter full of love and happiness. After their wedding, Mozart and Constanze started their family. They had 6 children, but sadly, only 2 of them survived beyond infancy. These 2 were named Carl Thomas and Franz Xaver. Mozart loved his children very much. He played with them, told them stories, and even taught them music. Despite his busy life, Mozart always found time for his family. Mozart's marriage to Constanze was not always easy. They had to deal with money problems and the sadness of losing their children. But they also had many happy moments together. They loved each other and they loved their children. They supported each other in their struggles and celebrated their victories together. Mozart's family was a big part of his life in Vienna. His wife and his children brought him joy and inspiration. They were his biggest fans and his biggest supporters. They were there for him, not just in his moments of fame and success, but also in his moments of struggle and doubt. With them by his side, Mozart was ready to face whatever the future might bring. Chapter 4. The Golden Years. During his time in Vienna, Mozart entered what we now call his golden years. This was a time when he created some of the most beautiful and famous music in the world. Mozart was not just a musician anymore. He was a master composer. Mozart worked very hard during these years. He spent many hours each day writing music. He wrote down the melodies that came into his head, and he carefully crafted them into complete pieces of music. He was like a painter, using notes and rhythms instead of paints and brushes to create beautiful scenes. One of the most famous pieces that Mozart wrote during this time was his opera, The Magic Flute. This was a magical story about love and bravery, good and evil. It was full of enchanting music and captivating characters. People loved it, and it quickly became one of the most popular operas in Vienna. Mozart also wrote many symphonies during his golden years. A symphony is a large piece of music for an orchestra. Mozart's symphonies were full of emotion and beauty. They were like journeys, taking listeners on a trip through different feelings and ideas. One of his most famous symphonies is Symphony No. 40, which is known for its passionate melodies and dramatic moments. During this time, Mozart also wrote many pieces of chamber music. Chamber music is written for a small group of instruments, like a string quartet or a piano trio. Mozart's chamber music is very beautiful and intimate. It is like a conversation between the instruments, with each one adding its own voice to the music. These golden years were a very productive and successful time for Mozart. He wrote many wonderful pieces of music, and he was admired and respected by many people. He had become a true master, creating music that would be loved by people for centuries to come. This was a time of great achievement and happiness for Mozart. He was living his dream, and he was creating music that would touch the hearts of people all over the world. Despite all his success and fame, Mozart's life in Vienna was not always easy. One of the biggest problems he faced was money. Even though he was a famous composer, Mozart often found it hard to make ends meet. Mozart earned money in several ways. He was paid for the music he wrote. He also made money by giving concerts and teaching music lessons. Sometimes he even sold copies of his music to his fans. But even with all these sources of income, Mozart often struggled to pay his bills. There were many reasons for Mozart's financial difficulties. One of them was his lifestyle. Mozart loved to live well. He liked to dress in fine clothes. He enjoyed good food and wine. He also loved to entertain his friends at his home. All of these things cost money, and Mozart often spent more than he earned. Another problem was the unpredictable nature of his income. Sometimes Mozart would have a lot of work and earn a good amount of money, but at other times work would be scarce and money would be tight. This made it difficult for Mozart to plan his finances and led to a lot of stress. Mozart also had to deal with the loss of his father during this time. His father had been a big support for him, both emotionally and financially. His death was a big blow to Mozart and added to his financial difficulties. Despite these problems, Mozart never stopped creating beautiful music. He continued to work hard, and he always hoped for better days. He was a fighter, and he did not let his financial struggles stop him from doing what he loved. Even in the face of hardship, Mozart's spirit and his passion for music remained unbroken. This was a testament to his strength and his dedication to his art. Mozart was not just a musician. He was also a man of society. He loved to meet people and to participate in social events. He attended parties, concerts, and dinners, where he mingled with the high society of Vienna. These gatherings were not just about having fun. They were also opportunities for Mozart to meet potential patrons and to showcase his talent. During these years, Mozart also became involved in Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a fraternal organization that promotes moral and spiritual values. It has secret rituals and symbols, and it is known for its sense of brotherhood and mutual aid. Mozart was attracted to Freemasonry because of its ideas of equality and brotherhood. He joined a Masonic lodge in Vienna and quickly became an active member. He attended meetings, participated in rituals, and even composed music for Masonic ceremonies. Some of his most famous Masonic music includes the Masonic funeral music and the opera The Magic Flute, which is full of Masonic symbols and themes. Mozart's involvement in Freemasonry was an important part of his life in Vienna. It gave him a sense of belonging and a community of friends. It also influenced his music and his ideas. Even in his difficult times, Mozart found support and comfort in his Masonic brothers. In many ways, Mozart's social life and his involvement in Freemasonry reflect his personality. He was a man who loved people and who valued friendship and brotherhood. He was a man who was open to new ideas and who was always eager to learn. And most importantly, he was a man who believed in the power of music to bring people together and to touch their hearts. This is what made Mozart not just a great composer, but also a truly remarkable man. Chapter 5. The Final Years. In the final years of his life, Mozart faced many challenges. One of these was his health. Mozart had always been a bit frail, but as he got older, his health started to decline. He often felt tired and weak. He had headaches and stomach problems. Sometimes he was so ill that he couldn't work or even get out of bed. Despite his health problems, Mozart continued to work. He had a family to support, and he also had a deep love for music. Even when he was sick, he would sit at his desk and write music. His passion for music was stronger than his illness. However, Mozart's health problems made his financial situation even worse. When he was too sick to work, he couldn't earn money. Medical treatments were also expensive. All of this put a lot of strain on Mozart and his family. The final years of Mozart's life were also marked by personal loss. In 1789, his mother passed away. This was a big blow for Mozart. He loved his mother very much, and her death left him with a deep sense of sadness. Despite all these hardships, Mozart never lost his spirit. He faced his problems with courage and determination. He continued to compose, creating some of his most beautiful and touching music during these difficult years. His music was his refuge, his comfort, and his joy. It was his way of expressing his feelings and his way of dealing with his struggles. Mozart's final years were a time of hardship and pain, but they were also a time of courage and creativity. Even in the face of adversity, Mozart remained true to his art and to himself. He continued to create beautiful music, and he continued to touch the hearts of people with his melodies. This is a testament to Mozart's strength, his resilience, and his undying love for music. In the last year of his life, Mozart started to work on a very special piece of music, a requiem. A requiem is a type of music that is written for a funeral or a memorial service. It is a way of saying goodbye to someone who has died. Mozart's Requiem is one of his most famous works, and it is also one of his most powerful and emotional. The story of Mozart's Requiem is a bit mysterious. A man whom Mozart did not know asked him to write it. This man wanted to use the music for his wife's funeral. He wanted to keep it a secret that Mozart was the composer. Mozart worked on the Requiem in between his other projects. Despite his declining health, he was determined to finish it. He poured all his feelings into this music, his sadness, his fear, his hope, and his faith. The Requiem is full of deep emotions and beautiful melodies. It is a true masterpiece. However, Mozart was not able to finish the Requiem. He became very sick and died before he could complete it. His student, Franz Claversesmayer, finished the Requiem based on Mozart's notes and instructions. Even though Mozart did not live to see the completion of the Requiem, it has become one of his most loved and respected works. It is a testament to his talent and his passion for music. The Requiem is a powerful expression of Mozart's feelings and thoughts during his final days. It is a piece of music that touches the heart and moves the soul. Even in his last moments, Mozart was able to create music that will be remembered and cherished for generations to come. Mozart may have left this world, but his music did not. After his death, his music continued to be played and loved by people all over the world. It was like Mozart was still with us, speaking to us through his beautiful melodies and harmonies. Mozart's music has had a big impact on the world of music. His compositions are considered some of the best in Western classical music. His symphonies, operas, and concertos are still performed by orchestras and opera companies all over the world. They are loved for their beauty, their emotion, and their creativity. Mozart's music has also inspired many other musicians. Composers like Ludwig van Beethoven, Franz Schubert, and Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky have all said that they were influenced by Mozart's music. They admired his ability to create beautiful melodies and his skill in crafting musical structures. But Mozart's legacy is not just about his music. It's also about his spirit. Mozart was a man who loved music with all his heart. He faced many challenges in his life, but he never gave up on his passion. He kept composing even when he was sick and facing difficulties. His love for music, his dedication to his art, and his ability to create beauty in the face of adversity are an inspiration to us all. Mozart's life may have been short, but his influence is long-lasting. His music continues to touch people's hearts, to inspire other musicians, and to bring beauty into our world. Mozart's legacy is a testament to the power of music and the strength of the human spirit. It is a legacy of beauty, creativity, and resilience that will continue to shine for generations to come. Chapter 6. Remembering Mozart. Even centuries after his death, Mozart's influence can be seen and heard in many aspects of our daily lives. His music, his life, and his legacy continue to inspire and fascinate people all around the world. Mozart's impact is not just limited to the world of classical music, it extends into popular culture as well. One of the most obvious ways Mozart influences popular culture is through his music. His compositions are regularly featured in movies, television shows, and commercials. From historical dramas to romantic comedies, Mozart's music is used to evoke a wide range of emotions. The beauty and complexity of his compositions add depth and richness to the narratives. Mozart's life story has also been the subject of numerous films and books. The 1984 film Amadeus, which won 8 Academy Awards, is a notable example. The film is a fictionalized biography of Mozart, portraying his genius, his vibrant personality, and his tragic early death. Though not entirely accurate in its details, the film brought Mozart's music and life story to a broad audience and sparked renewed interest in his works. In addition, Mozart's music is often used in education. His compositions are frequently played in music classes to demonstrate various aspects of music theory and composition. The so-called Mozart effect, a popular theory suggesting that listening to Mozart's music can improve cognitive performance, has led to the use of his music in a variety of educational and therapeutic contexts, even though scientific support for this theory is limited. Mozart is also a cultural icon, representing the epitome of musical genius. His image is found on a wide variety of products, from t-shirts to coffee mugs, and his name is often used metaphorically to denote excellence in any field. From films to education to merchandise, Mozart's influence on popular culture is broad and enduring. His music and his life story continue to captivate and inspire, proving that the power of his genius transcends the boundaries of time and genre. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is not just a famous name in music. He is one of the pillars upon which Western classical music stands. His influence on music both in his time and in the centuries that followed, is profound. Mozart was a master of every form of music he touched. He composed symphonies, sonatas, chamber music, operas, and choral music, each piece a testament to his genius. His music is known for its beauty, complexity, and emotional depth. He had a unique ability to blend melodies and harmonies in a way that was both innovative and pleasing to the ear. One of Mozart's significant contributions to classical music is his development of the piano concerto. He took this form, which was relatively new in his time, and refined it, creating concertos that showcased not only the soloist's technical skills, but also their ability to express deep emotions. His piano concertos are still considered some of the finest ever written. Mozart's operas also had a profound influence on the genre. He brought a new level of depth and complexity to opera, creating characters that were fully realized and human. His operas, such as The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and The Magic Flute, revolutionized the form and set a standard that future composers would strive to meet. Mozart's influence extends beyond his own time. Future generations of composers, including giants like Ludwig van Beethoven, Franz Schubert, and Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, were heavily influenced by his work. They studied his compositions, learned from his techniques, and built upon his innovations. Even today, Mozart's music remains relevant. It is performed in concert halls around the world, studied by music students, and enjoyed by millions of people. His music continues to inspire and influence musicians, proving that his genius is timeless. Mozart's legacy in music is as vibrant and vital today as it was over 2 centuries ago. His music resonates with our hearts, moves our souls, and reminds us of the power and beauty of human creativity. Mozart's music has traveled the world, but there are special places that hold a piece of his history. These are the places where Mozart was born, lived, and created his masterpieces. For anyone who loves Mozart's music, visiting these places can be a deeply moving experience. The journey begins in Salzburg, Austria, where Mozart was born on January 27, 1756. Here, you can visit Mozart's Geburtshaus, or birthplace, a house-termed museum filled with artifacts from Mozart's early life. You can see the room where Mozart was born and view displays of his childhood instruments, letters, and personal items. Another significant site in Salzburg is the Mozart residence, or Mozart Wohnhaus. This is where the Mozart family lived from 1773. It's now a museum that showcases the adult life of Mozart, with exhibits on his music, his family, and his time in Salzburg. Moving on to Vienna, you can visit the Mozarthaus Vienna, where Mozart lived from 1784 to 1787. This was his most substantial residence in Vienna, and it's here that he composed some of his best-known music. The house is now a museum that presents a vivid picture of Mozart's life and work in Vienna. Another must-visit site in Vienna is St. Stephen's Cathedral, where Mozart married his wife Constance. The church is a beautiful piece of Gothic architecture, and it's a romantic spot to imagine the Mozarts saying their vows. Finally, a visit to Vienna's Central Cemetery is a must for Mozart fans. Although Mozart was buried in a common grave at Streetmark Cemetery, a monument in his honour resides in the Central Cemetery, alongside memorials to other great composers like Beethoven and Schubert. These landmarks offer a tangible connection to Mozart's life and work. They give us a glimpse into the world that shaped this extraordinary composer. Each site tells a part of Mozart's story, and together they bring us closer to the man behind the music. A visit to these places is a journey into the heart of Mozart's world, a pilgrimage that every fan of his music should make at least once in their lifetime.